and welcome to the Eva Kennedy Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I truly appreciate it. Some of you may or may not know, but I'm a certified life coach. And at this point in my life, everything I do is really, both personally and professionally, is about supporting and encouraging women so that they can live their best life. So with that being said, today, my show is about conscious awakening. I spend a lot of time talking to women at different stages of their lives, and it all comes back to conscious awakening. So today, I thought it would be great if we did a show on conscious awakening. So today I have a guest, and her name is Kimberly Davis. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you for having me, Eva.
I appreciate you joining me on the show today. Kimberly and I met, I guess a few years ago, and it's amazing sometimes how life in the circle just kind of comes back around. And when we met it in a professional setting. And a few years ago, I started a support group online for women. It's a Facebook group. Okay. And it's called You Have the Power. And somehow you ended up in that group. Tell me, how did you end up in the You Have the Power group?
I ended up in that group because you know Toya.
Okay.
And that's a friend of mine, and we're starting a business together.
Wow, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And a few weeks ago, Kimberly was a guest in the group, and you talked about conscious awakening.
Right.
And I got so much positive feedback from your interview, from you being a guest on the show, okay, that I thought I'd have you on today, and especially because it's aligned with an empowering and supporting women, which is the work that I do anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a hairstylist. I've been in the industry for over 35 years. Mm-hmm. I have my certificate as a life coach and a master's degree in metaphysical science. So that's basically it. I'm really excited about Conscious Awakening. I started Conscious Awakening a few years ago, and then I just went live last year on Facebook talking about it.
Okay.
So I do the little live show on Facebook, and I have a topic every week. I put it on pause because I just opened up my hair studio. So I put Conscious Awakening on pause for a moment, and I'm going to come back to it.
Well, I hope so. Well, congratulations first and foremost on opening up your studio.
Yes.
That is great news. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're both sitting here life coaches, and I think that's great.
Yes.
So we can have conversation around conscious awakening.
Yes.
So what does that mean to you?
Conscious awakening means to me is waking up, just awakening your spirit to every experience that you have.
Yeah.
Because most of the times people are walking around, we having these experiences, but don't even know why. Don't even understand what's going on. And I feel like if you just awaken your soul, awaken your spirit, you're able to understand if you become more conscious of what's happening, just like today.
Yeah.
You know, coming here and I meet somebody that I have their book.
Yeah.
And just being conscious of why did I meet him.
So when you started this journey of conscious awakening, what was going on in your life?
Well, at the age of 22, I was searching for some happiness. Mm-hmm. And I needed an apartment, and, I had just broke up out of a relationship, and I'm like, I just need some help, somebody help me. And I happened to run into a young lady who practiced Buddhism.
Okay.
And I was looking at an apartment that day, and I saw my girlfriend from when we were kids, and I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm still practicing Buddhism. I'm like, whatever it is, just take me.
Okay. Okay.
And she took me to a meeting, and I joined. Even though I learned about Buddhism at 16, I didn't get involved. Mm-hmm. But at 22, I just had a seeking spirit. I wanted to be happy. I didn't understand why I was picking the guys I was picking, and I was one of them little lovesick young ladies, just searching for love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Buddhism saved my life.
Well, that's awesome. It's funny because there are different stages of life,
yes,
and we're all seeking or focusing on something different based on the stage we are,
yes,
at a point in time in our lives. So for me, conscious awakening, I've always been a spiritual person.
Okay.
But mine didn't start till much, much later.
Okay.
It was after I left my corporate job And I was at a point in my life where, I tell the story all the time, but I was at a point in my life where I was stuck.
Okay.
I knew there was more to my life, and I'm a Christian, so I believe in God. I knew God had more for me to do,
Okay.
but I didn't know what that was, and I started searching, what's my purpose? Why am
Okay.
I here? Yeah, so it was much later in life for me.
Well, I didn't really understand my purpose until like 206, 20, yeah, 2006, yes.
Yeah.
Because that's when I was searching on what school should I go to. Because I just started doing hair because it was a gift and I needed to survive.
Right.
I never had a passion to do it. It was just I needed to survive.
Okay.
So I was encouraged to go to beauty school. So I did that, but in 2006, I was deciding to go back to school, and I went to different universities and junior college, but nothing traditional school just didn't really touch me. And I was online, and I found metaphysical science. And then I found out and then I went to a Elanya Von Central retreat.
Okay.
That's where it started.
Okay.
And she introduced us to numerologists. And when we walked in, we got this package. She didn't talk about it, but what she had in the bag, she had your number and who you were. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. So it was very intriguing to me to find out who I was. So I kept this little piece of paper that I read every day, and now it's so raggedy because I kept reading it. And then I ran into another book years later about numerologists, and it just expanded more because I wanted to know more about me. So as I learned about myself, I started searching for schools, and I was in my basement one day, and I ran into metaphysical science, and it was just very intriguing. And I was like, I should do this. So I got out of school, and I started school metaphysical science, and that's just history. And then she started teaching us about meditation, and I started getting all these feelings in my body and really having a connection with spirit. And I was like, wow, this is interesting.
Right.
And I just been on the journey since then. It has really blown my mind. And I'm at this point now, really want to develop and really want to help people like you, want to give back to young people, just want to see the world change. I always knew I was like this, but I didn't know how to bring it out.
Right. Right.
So I feel like my journey being a Buddhist, has opened up my life to want to seek out more about what's going on within, know.
So it was at that point, though, or during that time in school, when you really started focusing on the person within?
Yes.
Yeah.
More so. I mean, Buddhism most definitely. One thing I can say, the first two things that I learned, that I had to take responsibility for my life.
Oh, most definitely. Yes.
And I had to love myself.
Oh,
the
yeah.
love part took time, and you're still working on that, know. But taking responsibility was the biggest thing that I learned first.
Yeah.
So that I won't continue to go blame my mother, or my partner, or, not blaming people, just taking full responsibility, to change your life.
Yeah.
If you want to be happy, it's up to you.
Yeah.
If you want something better out of life, it's up to you.
Yeah. But though, there are so many people that want more out of life. Number one, they don't know how to go for it.
Right.
Because they don't know the steps to take. And even for me, when I started searching for my purpose, I was looking outside.
Okay.
Because I grew up masking all of my feelings, not
okay.
realizing that everything I needed was on the inside.
Right. Okay.
And I was stuck, but also not realizing and understanding. And I tell the story all the time. I had become an emotional prisoner. I was holding myself hostage. I just didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know at the time.
Okay.
But isn't it amazing and how freeing it is once you start to tap into that inner spirit? How you can grow and how you can evolve and how you can just unravel all those things and those feelings that we have on the inside.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
And to me, it's fun. I mean, sometimes people say, well, how did you know that? I'm like, you just got to not be afraid to see who you are.
Yeah.
And that was another thing Buddhism, taught me too, is when I pray to see. I don't pray just to pray.
Right.
I pray, I want to see it, even though it may hurt, but I need to see it. That's the only way I can figure it out. That's the only way I can understand it. That's the only way I can make a breakthrough.
Yeah.
If I don't see. So I've always wanted to see things and, hear things.
Yeah.
always, you know.
And obviously there was more for you, but let's go just a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Because hopefully someone will be watching this today, and
Okay.
hopefully they will take something away from this, because you said something that you have to take responsibility for your own life. And if you want something, you have to pursue it. But the question that I have for you, how did you know there was more for you? I mean, what was going on with you for you to say, you know what, I want to go a little bit deeper. I'm not going to stay. Because you could have conceivably finished getting your hair certification, and that could have been it.
Right.
But what was going on with you to say, you know what, this is not enough. This is not fulfilling. There's more for me.
I don't, even as a young person, I've always had this big dream,
Yeah.
and I just didn't really know how to get there.
Uh-huh.
So, and when Buddhism started teaching me about my own life, you know, I can give you an experience real quick. One young lady, I was doing hair, and I was working as a teller, and had an apartment, and I became a leader, a youth leader in Buddhism. And the young lady, and I was like, dang, I really don't like working at the bank, you know, because I was pretty much living my sister's life and not my own life.
Okay.
So she was like, well, you need to chant to resolve your dream. And I'm like, she said, you don't have to work 2 jobs. And I'm like, really? You know, and at that time I was really struggling, you know. And I said, okay. So I went home and I started to chant. And then I started working in a salon. And then I just quit. And my mother thought I was crazy. She was like, why would you quit that job? I'm like, because I'm going to resolve my dream.
Yeah.
I don't have to do this. You know, so I've always had a courageous attitude.
Uh-huh.
And I always did stuff, jump into things. And they would say, there she go again. You know, so it's always been in me. And lately, because of some of the experience, when you go through life experience, it kind of shuts you down a little bit. And now I'm learning how to be courageous all over again.
Yeah.
At 54.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I'm starting all over again because I made some mistakes, you know. So I'm going back, not going back, but I'm looking at how courageous I was in my 20s. It's different now at 50.
Right.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
You know, so you can't do what you did at 20 and 30. But
you don't want to do what
No,
you did when you were 20 and
exactly.
30. And by the way, you look absolutely beautiful. I
Thank
would
you.
have never guessed your age. Thank you for sharing that too. You look absolutely gorgeous. But, you know, at this point in your life, and this is what I talk about all the time too, but first of all, you have to be courageous.
Yes.
You have to take a step. A lot of us want to make changes in our lives, but we won't take that step. And I tell people all the time, or I share with folks and women especially all the time, just take a step. You have to take a chance on yourself, right? And the confidence and courage will follow.
Exactly.
You know, but you have to activate that. And for me, being a Christian, is faith.
Yes.
So faith without action is worthless, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But at 54 or at this stage in your life, and it's not even so much, and I like to look at it, and this is how I think about it. It's just like when you put a resume together.
Okay.
All of these past experiences. But because of these past experiences, you have the experience now to apply for whatever job you want to. So all those challenges in life that you were able to work through, and even the mistakes were learning opportunities, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's part of your life's experiences, because I'm a strong believer that life will give you the skills, experiences, and the knowledge you need to achieve what it is that you desire.
True that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you had not experienced all those things, you wouldn't be able to go for whatever it is or embrace the obstacles that may be in front of you today.
Exactly. Or I wouldn't be sitting here today talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah. And that's kind of what led me to coaching. It's funny because number one, I was stuck and I was trying to find what's next for me, what's my purpose.
Okay.
And I started searching out different opportunities, and I landed on coaching.
Okay.
And I didn't start out to be an entrepreneur either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just, like I said, for myself, is always wanted to just, I don't like to be put in a box.
Mm-hmm.
You know, want to be able to expand and be creative. I've always been a creative child. Wanted to really be in the entertainment field as a kid.
Okay.
And I didn't get to do that, you know. So, and that's probably one of my only regrets that I didn't do but it's never too late.
I
Who
was going to
knows?
say it's never too late. You said something a few minutes ago. You said you realized you was living your sister's life.
Yes. She was the bank. She was worked in the bank. I was following her steps at one time when I was like in high school. Because everybody, she's most definitely a perfect lady in my eyesight.
Right.
And she was my first, besides my mother, my first mentor, and she just seemed like she did everything right, and I was kind of wouldn't say the wild child, but the aggressive one and want to go out and meet everybody and, just experience different things. She was
Right.
more reserved, and I was like, okay, maybe I need to be more like that. But I realized I'm not her, I'm me.
Yeah, but think about, and I'm sure you know women like this because I do. How many women you know that kind of been living somebody else's life, or society told them this is what you can and you can't do.
Exactly.
And they just settle. So.
Oh, yeah. And I was doing that and she didn't really, I don't think she knew it, but I went to the bank because that's where she worked at the bank. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to be a bank teller. And I was like, I got to get out of here. I felt suffocated.
Right. So you knew it was time for you to go.
Yeah, I had to go. I couldn't be creative. I had to raise my hand. I felt like I had to raise my hand to go to the bathroom.
Wow.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah, but that's good though, because so many people would have just stayed because what happens, and let's talk about fear a little bit.
Okay.
So once you started to make changes or to go forth in life, let's talk about some of the obstacles that show up,
Okay.
and fear is the big one because fear can hold you prisoner.
Right. I would say the obstacles that showed up back then, I was more fearless. Now it feels like the obstacles, I'm like a little shooken.
Okay.
I think, and I really want to get out of being so afraid now. And I think it's because I'm 54. I'm like, oh, you can't do that now. You have to be careful now. But I want to get back to being more courageous because I like that in me.
Yeah.
And I was like that, it was just like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go buy this house. Even though, I probably should have took the proper steps, and making sure I have the money or whatever. But it was just, I would just take chances.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you will know. That's how I look at things. And then, if you don't have anybody to help you to plan, that's a different story.
Yes.
And I didn't have that. So you have to, and then I had to grow up fast. So I had to take care of myself at a very young age.
Right.
So, when you have that kind of living, you can't be afraid, But some people are, I would say some people grow up in a family where they're sheltered. I wasn't sheltered.
Right.
And some people grow up in a family they're sheltered and they're given everything. I wasn't. I had to make it happen for myself. Not taking away anything from my parents. It's just that was the environment. It was we didn't get a lot of love. She was there, but she wasn't there, and it was more emotionally. You know what I'm saying? So you had to make some decisions. And you learn by watching people.
Yeah. Well, you're right, because parents years and years ago, they thought, look, I'm feeding you, a roof over your head, that's love, that's it. Because of their own environment, how they were
Right.
raised, and they just didn't know how to, I guess, be emotionally attached to us,
Right, and I realized that when I went through the retreat with Elanya Vonson, she took us on a moment of seeing our parents as being kids.
Yes.
And then that's when I was able to release and let them go and not be mad at them for not giving me some of the tools that I needed.
Right. Because they did the best
they
could,
yes.
based on where
they come from.
Yeah.
Right. And so then I had to realize my mother did the best that she could. But at 47 is when it really changed with me and her, is when
Yeah.
I truly fell in love with her.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that stage I call midlife transitions. And
Okay.
it's funny because in my recent book, Inspirations for the Soul, that I wrote, I talk about midlife transitions.
Oh, okay.
Because that's kind of when my journey started, this whole journey of evolution, who am I, what's next for me, being really connected to spirit and seeking to have a greater relationship or a deeper relationship with God, kind of started midlife transition for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but something else you just said too a minute ago about where you are in your life now, because what happens with us sometimes, based on our past experiences, I don't like to call them mistakes, I call them learning opportunities.
Okay.
But sometimes when we think about what occurred in the past or some of the decisions we made in the past, we allow that to hold us prisoner because we want to protect ourselves because we don't want to go through that again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
But not realizing now you you may not be able to control what's going on in your life, but you can manage how you process it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at, just managing how I process things and not allowing, what happened to stop me,
Yeah.
but just learning from it, just learning the lesson. It's like, what was the lesson? I ask questions all the time, even when I'm praying. So what is it that you want me to learn?
Right.
I'm, most definitely going to continue to ask the questions because I think that's a lot of the times we don't want to know. So we don't want to see the truth.
Yeah.
People live behind that, behind that mask that they wear.
Right.
And that was another thing Elanya talked about, the mask, taking the mask off,
And I think we all wear a mask.
Yes.
Because what we think we're doing, we think we're protecting ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. And that was with me. I would mask all of my feelings. And I tell people about this all the time. I had this internal emotional pocket.
Okay.
And every time something happened, I would put it in the pocket.
Oh, wow.
But it
okay.
got to the point the pocket started to just spill over. So now all of those emotions, all of the feelings that you didn't want to deal with, now all of a sudden, in order for you to grow, you have to bring them out of that pocket.
Right.
And you have to open them up. And you have to understand,
Right.
what was going on and the impact.
And I was the opposite. I let everything out.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I got to let this out. I'm going
Yeah.
to cry about it. I'm going to tell somebody about it. I'm going to seek somebody out to help me through it. I was like that. So sometimes I just talk too much.
No, but
or
that's
maybe
good though.
tell
Because,
too
no,
much. I
because
don't know.
some people, even now, there's someone that's going to hear this and they need help.
Right.
And it's funny because I was one of these people, I never asked for help. I was this independent thing.
Okay.
Suppressing feelings. Oh, I'm
Okay.
going to work this on my own.
Okay.
And it's funny, it's up until just recently when I broke my ankle last year that I really had to ask and accept help.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
I was starting to be better, but that I came full circle.
Okay.
And there are people now need help
And won't ask.
and won't ask for help because we're afraid that we're going to be judged, or we'll make a comment and one of our friends will say, well, girl, you can't do that. That's not going to happen. And it shuts us down because our confidence level is not high anyway.
Right.
Yeah,
Or we just, we feel like we don't want people to see that vulnerability side of us or that need in us.
Yeah.
And it's if it's a true person that you're speaking with, why would they even judge you? Why would they even look at you in a different light?
Yeah.
But most of the time we don't want people to see who we are.
And what's so interesting is and my favorite saying is life sees and accepts me as naked as I be.
Yes.
Because once you let it go, you have nothing to hide. That's the
Exactly.
freedom.
Yes.
So even if I mess up, so what? I'm learning something.
Right.
And
that's how I feel even when I'm doing hair. I mean, when I had a salon, I gave all of me to my stylist.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't have a problem with telling them and showing them how to do hair because I felt they couldn't take anything from me. This is why I'm here. So I must share. I must show you how to grow. I must show you how to do a better cut. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give to you. And if I see, if I see what I see, I'm going to pull it out of you and say, this is what I see. It just comes natural. It's not like I think I know it all, but it's just something in me that sees.
And plus, you want the best for
And
people.
I want exactly.
You're at that point in your life. You're not trying to. You have skills and talents, and
Right.
you have a purpose, right?
Yes.
And you're pursuing that purpose.
Right.
Yeah. But that's great too because and I hate to say this, I really hate to say this, but the readings. When you look at the numbers, the percentage of people that don't pursue their dreams.
Right.
Less than 10%.
Yeah. Well.
And the reason they say the richest place in the world is the cemetery because that's where all the dreams are buried.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm always trying to get young people or just people in my environment to see themselves and see their dreams.
Yeah.
It's just a desire to help someone else.
Yeah.
And I get so much out of it.
Right, because that's where you are and you're stepping into, because when you tap into the person within, when you really start to look at life from that perspective, you realize it's not about you at all,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
Because
exactly.
most of us, there's so many of us, we think this is about us.
And that's another thing Buddhism teaches us. We go out and help other people. And that's what being a leader in the organization. I couldn't really worry about everything that I was going through.
Right.
Because I was busy raising the other young women under me, or helping them through something. Sharing my life with them. And it really helped me along the way. Yeah.
Right, because it makes you feel good.
Yes.
And it makes you feel, first of all, you have purpose, you have something to offer. So it just enhances or enriches your own confidence a little bit.
Yes.
Not from an ego perspective.
Exactly.
But value.
Yes. I
But
mean, it
value.
humbles you. And
Yeah, it does.
It humbles
Yeah.
you. And to hear young people like today, when if they come out, some of them are out of town, if they come and get their hair done, they always praising me or thank you so much, you really helped me in my life. That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And to see that their life is doing better or something that I said helped them to change their perspective about something, so.
Something you talked about when you were on the You Have the Power coffee talk with
Okay.
me. You talked about self-love. Let's talk about self-love a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think self-love is very important because if you don't self-love yourself, if you don't love yourself, how do you know when love do come? How do you know how to give love? I just think it's extremely important that we learn about self-love because then you go around, and I was one of those people, you're looking for love outside of yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and then when that person don't love you back, what, you angry or you upset? Or
Devastated.
right, you destroy, you like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And then when you realize you have to love yourself. And it's not that all the time when people come in your life, they don't love you, but things change.
Right.
Nothing's gonna stay the same.
Right. And you have to teach the universe how to love you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because if you don't love yourself, how am I going, if I don't love myself, what am I putting out to the universe?
Exactly.
So you have to teach the universe how to love you.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what energy are you pulling to you?
Yeah.
Because it's all energy when it all boils down to it. It's all energy.
Right.
So the energy that we pull to us, then we wonder, why did I get this? And that was my whole quest and looking, when I ran into my girlfriend that day. I'm like, whatever you doing, because it was her energy.
Right.
It was the essence of her energy that grabbed me to her.
Yeah.
And I was like, just take me, because
Isn't it contagious though?
yes.
I call it when people can see the light shining from your heart.
Right.
But isn't it contagious?
Yes.
People want what you have.
Right.
They look at you and go, like your friend, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know, whatever. I want some of that.
Yeah, and that's the same thing happened with Toya and I. I'm watching her on Facebook, and I had gone through something, and I'm like, man, I got to get with Toya. She is really doing it. What is it?
Yeah.
So I connected with her, and I was like, girl, just throw me a lifeline or something.
Right. Yeah.
But it was her whole energy, and she gave me a whole nother perspective, and it brought me back into the game of hair. Because I was like, I'm done, but she was like, you have so much to give. You taught me how to cut hair.
And just think about this, something you just said. When you're doing hair and the young ladies come to you, you're mentoring them.
Right, exactly.
You are mentoring them. Yeah. And they're listening. And naturally, you have their attention, right?
Right.
You have their attention.
We do it doing hair. We dealing with the
Yeah.
top crown chakra.
Yeah.
So all of that energy, that's why I try and create an environment where clients can come and just relax and be themselves, and not an environment where it's cold. I want it to be warm and very safe, because people let out things in the salon.
Oh, yeah.
They share.
Oh, yeah.
We
for
all
sure.
share. We become
Yeah.
like family.
I know it. Yeah. But
So-
but that's good though that you are able to mentor young women, especially with self-love, because so many of us don't know how to love ourselves. We don't take time to spend time with ourselves.
Right.
Yeah, we don't. We can't be alone. We can't be alone. And sometimes we go from one